Okay, thank you all for joining us today on the snowy day. My name is Sarah. For those of you who don't know me, I run the Southern Vermont Economy Project out of the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. Today we have Ed Williams of the Vermont Procurement and Technical Assistance Center, and he is going to talk to us about PTAC as well as Hubzones. So the goal of this webinar series is to provide high-level introductions to resources, tools, and programs around economic and workforce development. At the end, Ed will provide you with contact information, as well as I will provide you a link to where this recorded session will be uploaded, and you will be able to view it there or share it with others. As far as the structure of the webinar, Ed is going to speak for about 20 minutes or so on PTAC and Hubzones, and then we'll have 10 minutes or so for questions and answers. And I tend to keep participants muted just to avoid all the noise. So when you have a question, go ahead and just type it into the chat function. All right, if you bear with me, I'm just going to switch over so Ed can present, and we'll get started.
Hear me now?
It usually takes a couple seconds for it to pop up. There we go. All right, we can see you.
Okay. Awesome. I'm just going to get... Okay, of course, this... There we go. Okay. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody. Again, thanks for braving the snow. And I do have probably way more slides on this than 20 minutes will allow. And I do have some stuff on Hubzone. But again, we will have this whole presentation. I'm going to kind of skip through as we go as well. Again, I am Ed Williams. I'm with the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, known as the PTAC, here in Vermont. We're national. Our national organization is actually called PTAC and can be found on aptac.org. The PTAC counselors throughout the state are myself, Joanne Spalding, our director, Babette up in Burlington, Brenda in the Newport region, and Elizabeth Adams, who covers Rutland and Bennington counties. Basically, our goal as PTACs is to increase your percentage of federal, state, and local contracts. We want you getting a bigger piece of the pie, and to help you in any way that we can to achieve that. Much of what we do and is done in government contracting is a process. So we help you in the process of building relationships both with government agencies on the federal level, state, as well as local and municipal. So we're a full service organization, and I would like to add that we are free. We don't charge for our services at all. PTAC counselors basically work with you to obtain and bid on government contracts, but most importantly, we work with you as well on understanding the ways to bring your product to the federal market, finding your customers, discovering what your customers want, meeting their goals, understanding marketing, and understanding the materials and registrations that you'll need to do business with the government. I, by the way, won't be reading from the slides as much as possible because I want to give you as much information as we can while we're going through this. Our rule of thumb, which is only a rule of thumb, is that you, well, registered in business is a must. Having internet is a must. Capable of meeting the challenge is a must. And we'll talk about that one if and when we get together. Oh, dedicated to learning the process. We are fairly flexible with the in business more than 1 year, particularly for tech businesses, innovative businesses, manufacturers, that type of thing, because the market is so big and hot for those right now. What is government contracting? It's a process used by federal, state, and local governments to procure products, to buy, basically. A mechanism that's open and is created to be fair. One of the things that has been constantly reviewed and looked at is making sure that things are fair to small businesses and that large businesses don't gobble up all the contracts. There is also a thing in federal contracting known as the FAR, which is the Federal Acquisition Regulations, which is way too thick to read, but dictates how federal contracting is to be done, and all of our trainers in the state of Vermont are very well versed in the FAR and have been trained on it. We also assist when we're talking about opportunities with subcontracting, not just being a prime. We help with all states, not just state of Vermont. We will assist with federal procurement, but also work with you on getting national and international procurement and working with our international trade partners in economic development up in Montpelier. What's important to note is that 23% of all federal contracts are required to be set aside for small businesses. This is the meat of federal contracting. 5% for prime, small disadvantaged businesses, 5% for woman-owned businesses, 3% for Hubzone businesses. We'll get to Hubzones in a bit. And 3% for service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. As a counselor, we can help and assist you, again, walking you through all these registrations and the things that you need to know. The Hubzone business is a historically underutilized business zones. You can see right here that it says Essex, Orleans, Windsor, Wyndham, certain census tracts in Burlington, Rutland, Bennington, Orange, and parts of St. Albans are all currently Hubzones due to the base closure that happened a few years ago. You can find information on Hubzones on www.sba.gov. Oops, sorry about that. And it's named for Section 8A of the Small Business Act. Program was created to assist small disadvantaged businesses compete. What I was trying to do here is see. Never mind. If you go to that website, the www.sba.gov/Hubzone, you'll want to, about midway down the page, there is a tab you can click on, a little paragraph with a link that you can click on for applying to the Hubzone program. That one has some great resources on it, particularly the application guide, which I would suggest before anybody begins a Hubzone process or is deciding whether or not they want to proceed with Hubzones, that they go look at this site and particularly look for the application guide. I'll also make sure that I get a copy of that sent to Sarah so that she can get it all out, and or you can reach out to me by email. As far as Vermont opportunities go, We help with opportunities through BGS, VTrans, Agency of Natural Resources. There are other state agencies like Human Resources, Corrections. I just saw one the other day for paving contractors for maintaining all the airport runways. Also, many municipalities are doing more and more through state work. We have a thing here in Vermont, if you're not aware of it, called the Vermont Bid System or the Vermont Business Registry. I would suggest that each and every one of you make sure that your business is registered on there, because there are a lot of municipalities and state agency personnel who will go to that site to look for businesses, and that site only, not the yellow pages. Another important thing to note is you can set up a profile on that site, which will allow you to get email notifications when appropriate RFPs or solicitations are sent out for your type of work. And that one is keyword driven. Again, that's your Vermont Business to Business directory. This is what it will look like when you call it up. Oh, okay, let's try that again. This is what it'll look like when you call it up. What I like to do, even if you don't set up that thing, is sometimes you can go right into that list all open bids, click on it, and it gives you a list of everything that is that's open right now. And it lists it by date, so you can go right down through. You can also click to sort differently, but this is a good way to go in and quickly look what's going on, what's happening in the state, and is there anything there for me. Then once you get to an opportunity, this is typically, you'll click on a link and it brings you to this thing. This is what's called the solicitation description, and if you look down below, they'll typically have an RFQ in the bid attachments, or a lot of times, I hope you guys can see this waving arrow guy here. A lot of times in this bid description, there will be a link, or in special instructions, there'll be a link that you can click on, and it takes you to the actual RFP. What? We also have, as PTACs, we have purchased a bid match program through Outreach Systems, which allows us to do a profile for you. It's free to you, and it scours over 2,500 to 3,000 different procurement sites from armed services, federal agencies, state government, international. It also picks up on grants, R&D, and quasi-federal work. This is both in the United States and international. We can tweak these bid match profiles to limit it to a county or expand it to the whole world, all depending on you. One of the things that we like to do is let our clients know that these things will not be perfect when you start, but when we finish, we hope that we can have very good, appropriate results going to you on a consistent basis so that you don't have to be searching through all of these sites. If any of you are in sales, you know that finding opportunities is half the battle. We typically set up the search criteria for bid match based on keywords, NAICS codes, product service codes, those sorts of things. These are all things, if you don't know what a NAICS code is, work in the federal marketplace is typically classified by a NAICS code. A NAICS code is divides things up by industries. There are also product service codes. All these sorts of things we can help you get familiar with as a PTAC client, so that when you're going into the market, you know what you're talking about. So what does my bid match do, and how does it look? You'll get a link when/if you work with a PTAC counselor. When we set up your profile, you will get a link, and it's a unique link to your bid match. And what it looks like is this. Each day, you're going to get a notification saying on there how many articles there are. When you click on the article, you'll get something like this that pops up that says, this one in particular is the United States Senate Office of Sergeant of the Arms, and they are looking for, let's see, Sergeant of the Arms, Finance Division, United States. And so that's what it'll look like. If you see this little link right here, that links to FBO, which is Fed Biz Ops. This is the actual solicitation looking for website design services. If you look over here, there's a synopsis. And then down below on these, there's a bunch of other numbers. One thing to notice, this type is a sources sought. Sources sought are a way that the federal government reaches out to small businesses to see if there are enough businesses to do a particular type of thing in the small business realm so that they can set that particular solicitation aside for small businesses so that large businesses can't compete on it. What can you expect from a PTAC? We will objectively assess your company capabilities, sit down with you, discuss, and guide you on whether or not government contracting is necessarily for you. With no judgment, just we know, a lot of times what is successful, what isn't, what does and doesn't work well within the marketplace. We'll provide you with guidance on how to get registered with SAM, how to get a DUNS number, how to get your women-owned business certified, how to get certified as your Hubzone, service-disabled vet if you're a veteran. We'll develop a search profile for you so that you don't have to go scouring through all the newspapers and websites and everything that offer government opportunities. We have training classes, workshops. We provide direct referrals from agencies whenever possible. We do market research for you as well, so that you know and can reach out to some primes for subcontracting opportunities, because we find that a lot of times going through the subcontracting realm will get you into the federal marketplace quicker. We provide networking events. In fact, there's going to be one coming up in June of this year, and we hope to be getting a save the date out for that shortly, where we bring in all kinds of prime contractors, as well as a number of agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, and you're given an opportunity to sit with decision makers, meet them, take classes that will help educate you on the federal contracting. And they're great opportunities. This year, this one's going to be up in Killington, and it is going to be a big one because it is being done as a joint partnership with the Northeast Regional Council, which is a joint effort group of PTACs, Department of Defense personnel, and prime contractors who all work together to provide the best training we can to small businesses and bring opportunities through matchmaking events to them as well. Again, registrations, we talked about SAM, we talked about getting, well, we didn't talk about dynamic search, but that's part of the SAM process. We can help you with the business-to-business directory if you need it, and getting you on Travel Planner if you're a microbrewery or a food producer. We have also, I have a few different clients that do food that we can talk to you about the the dispensaries for the military, as well as hooking you up with some of the larger national distributors that do some of these easier, more accessible food contracts. And also, again, we'll help you with your Hubzone certification, women-owned business. And here's the information, if you want it, on the Department of Defense Northeast Regional Council. And as we said, there's informal matchmaking and networking where over 70 agencies and companies all meet within a day. We also do local industry days, VAAA, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Green Mountain National Forest has events. We also do a lot of work with the state chamber, assisting with their events and making sure that we're there to promote the PTAC and meet with businesses that want to learn more about us. We also, because we are partly funded by the state of Vermont, not just the Department of Defense, we also have a number of partners listed there that we work with, and we have a seat at the economic development table up in Montpelier. So if there are issues that our clients have or needs that they have that go beyond the scope of what we as PTACs do, we can refer you over the chain to one of our partners up in Montpelier. I'm thinking of issues like, labor issues, workforce development issues, those sorts of things. Veggie, the whole shoot and match and array of economic development assistance that's available. And that is the presentation on the PTAC. I believe if Sarah's out there, she can tell me, this is my contact information, how I'm doing on time, because I can close this and show you a little bit on my screen about from the SBA website before I take questions.
Sure, Ed. If you could maybe do 5 or so minutes on the Hubzone, and
sure.
Then we'll let people ask questions. Unless
Here we
people
go.
have questions now that have to leave, feel free to enter those into the chat function now, and Ed can do 2 things at once.
Yes, I can. This is, if you remember, this right here. Oh. I jumped ahead. Okay, so this is the Hubzone certification page right here. I'll tell you again, it's a funny thing because I tell my clients this.
Hey Ed.
Yes. You have a question?
We can't see the your web page.
Oh, you can't?
No, it may have. Let me switch screens real quick to my screen, and then I'll ask you to share again, and just be sure to check.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Your browser.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Because you may not have clicked that the first time.
Oh, yeah. Boom. There we go. I'm just going to select up. There we go. Can you see me? Oh, yeah, we gotta wait. Can you see me now?
Yep, perfect.
All right, cool. This is the second site I was talking about, and actually you can see the link up top. But as I was starting to say, in federal contracting, you'll find, because I say this at least 5 times a day to a lot of my clients, Google is your best friend. You can find anything in the world by Googling it. And if you need assistance with learning how to Google, I can do that too. But this is the Hubzone certification page. If you scroll down the page here, you'll see there's a description of the program. There's the Hubzone maps, which sometimes, I will warn you, don't recognize these, the BRAC or base relocation areas as hub zones, but don't worry. And again, we can help you with all of this stuff. So please reach out. If you're not already a PTAC client, please reach out. We can set up an initial meeting, and you don't have to sign on as a client, but I would really like you to at least give us the time to sit down for a little more time to really look at your business and see where you fit, because a lot of people that don't think they fit in the government marketplace really do. And if you can get a Hubzone certification to go along with that, you are miles ahead of many other people. Now, one thing real quick, too, before I go to the next step. Hubzones will not get you any advantage in the state or municipal workplace. They are for federal contracts only, and or sometimes direct federal grants. Not grants that are federal and managed by the state, but actually the direct federal grants. So how do we apply for the Hubzone? If you click on that guy right there, it takes you to applying for. And if you scroll down, you'll see the whole description. And here you go. Here's the Hubzone certification eligibility. There's a little size standard tool, which basically is going to ask you if you're small or not. They're going to want to know if you're owned at least by 51% U.S. citizens. That's important. There's some other criteria there, but the big one's the, U.S. citizens as far as that goes. And then there's other Native Americans, if you're owned by tribal governments. You can't be owned by a like a subsidiary or a shell corporation or something like that. You have to be owned by an individual. You can be a corporation, and you can be owned by, you can have a CEO or a board or that type of thing, but you can't be owned by somebody like Dick and Jane Shell Corporation, Your principal office needs to be located in a Hubzone. We can help you with determinations of that. But I would suggest, I had stated this in the beginning, that you do 3 things before you start the process or start to jump into this, especially if you're a larger business and you have a board or you are a corporation. Take a look at this Hubzone primer. Take a look at the frequently asked questions. And more importantly, I think, spend some time looking at the application guide. The application guide is really nice because it gives you, it breaks down what you need to do step by step for the Hubzone. I always like people to do this, not because I can't help them, because I can and I will. In this application guide, I don't think many get through the Hubzone without us assisting, but this application guide will really help you in deciding, do I want to proceed with the time and the effort it's going to take to do the Hubzone, or is the benefit to me outweighed by the amount of time I'm going to have to spend? So that's a judgment you're going to have to make. And again, as a client, we can talk to you more about that. I also assist non-clients. We do prefer and really harp on helping clients with the nuts and bolts of certifications and things like that. But if you have a quick question about things as far as the government contracting goes, you can always call me. And if you call too many times, I may say you have to become a client. But I'm always there. And I typically do get down to Brattleboro every Wednesday. Sometimes I can meet there more. So if you reach out, you want to meet and not come all the way up to Springfield, shoot me an email, and I'll make sure that we can get something scheduled. We'll be at a Wednesday or a Thursday. Okay, so let's go here. What can I show you? Oh, this would be what the application guide looks like. Very straightforward. and introducing it. Here again is the eligibility requirements. At least 35%, that's another thing. At least 35% of your workforce needs to be reside in the Hubzone. You're going to need to prove that with licenses or bills with their name on it. This describes what the Hubzone is, which we talked about earlier, qualified Indian lands. I mean, some of this is not going to apply to all of us, but it goes right down through, tells you how the Hubzone determines eligibility. I have another presentation that I may be able to do down the road on the actual application process, not just the what is Hubzone and are you eligible, but an actual, this is the application process. So maybe Sarah and I can organize that for some time down the road. But I can sit down with anybody anytime to do that. So I think if there's any questions, I can answer those now.
Great, Ed, thank you. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to go ahead and type into the chat function, and Ed will be sure to answer those. I guess while we're waiting to see if anyone else has questions, can you give us maybe an example of a business you've worked with and maybe how you sort of help them through the process? You don't maybe need to name
I have. I've worked with a few. I've worked with Line Sync Architecture over in it's Wilmington, is it Wilmington? Yeah. And I helped them from start to finish. What I basically do with them was I sat down with them initially, went through the application guide to assist them in determining what they would need to pull together for documentation. They called me up a couple weeks later when they had their documentation completed or thought it was complete. I went over and reviewed their documentation and figured out that they needed to do some other stuff. So a couple days later, they had it all pulled together. I went back over, reviewed it. It was complete. And then Julie and I walked through the actual first step, which is the electronic application. We got that approved, and then we went ahead and went through the supplemental submission as well. So with that one, what we found is that preparation is 90% of the battle. If you can meet 2 or 3 times, or sometimes it only takes a couple, but usually it takes 3 or 4 times meeting with us and reviewing documentations and things like that. When it comes to doing the applications online, because the process is a little tedious, it makes it go really simple and really easy. And it's even easier when I've found when I can sit there and hold your hand through the process. I have another company who shall remain nameless for their own protection that chose to meet with me, went to one of the workshops, because we do workshops throughout the year at various locations, had gone to a workshop, started the process, needed some help. I gave them some help. They were all set. They went ahead and did the application and didn't do it right. Didn't know the emails had come. Long story short, we are still working on their Hubzone application. And because they're trying to squeeze it in between and do this and do that. And they're trying to do it on their own because they don't want to take up all my time. And what I try to explain to people is it's our job for you to take our time. So if I need to sit with you for 4 hours in a day to work through your paperwork and look at your certification stuff, or help you with templates, or talk to you about how you document workers, or all these sorts of things, please have me do it, because that's my job. That's what I'm here for. be it with Hubzone or any of the types of things that we do, use us, because we are a resource. We're trained to do it. We have annual trainings we go to. We go to a variety of different events around the country where the big agencies, the Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines, Natural Resources, you name it, Health and Human Services, everybody, all over the spectrum, EPA, and we have a very solid foundation in what these folks want, and a lot of times businesses are too shy, as far as I'm concerned, where they're, or in some cases they're too busy. And I say, well, that's my point, is that you are too busy. You run your business, you make a phone call to me and say, hey, Ed, I need you to do this for me. Can you check and see if there are any federal opportunities in this area? And I'll run it down. If it takes me an hour or 2 hours, and you might not get the answer you like, but I'll spend an afternoon looking for you. So yeah, it's
great.
It all depends on the time you invest in it, really. I guess it's like anything.
Exactly. Wonderful. Thanks, Ed. Looks like no one's typed any questions, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and here, and people can continue to ask questions if they think of anything. So usually I have what's coming up next. These are bi-monthly, so every 2 weeks. And we actually are looking for suggestions. We've done 18. This is the 18th webinar session that we've done, and we are looking to anyone watching this now or in the future for any ideas of what kind of programs, resources around economic and workforce development that you want to hear about. I will gladly reach out to whoever runs that program or heads that resource and get them on here to talk more in depth about it. Well, thank you so much, Ed. Really appreciate it. And Ed will be getting me those presentations, and I will upload those as well as this recording onto the Knowledge Bites webpage. And we'll see you next time.
And thank you, BDCC and SevEds, for having me.
Great. Thanks, Ed. We'll see you soon.
You bet. Take care.
Bye-bye.